It was a bright, sunny afternoon in the city of Neoterra, a place where the old and new lived side by side. Flying cars zipped between towering skyscrapers, and holographic signs floated in the air, advertising everything from robot tutors to smart shoes that could change color. Despite all the technology, some things never changed. People still loved ice cream, for example. And there was one small, cheerful ice cream stand in the heart of the city that had remained mostly the same for years. Leo, a curious 7-year-old with bright eyes and a wild imagination, tugged at his Uncle Max's hand. "Come on, Uncle Max. Ice cream. You promised." Max, a tall, thin man with glasses sliding down his nose, sighed and adjusted his lab coat. "Leo, you know I'm busy. I have notes to finish for my project." "I don't care. Ice cream is more important," Leo interrupted, already running ahead. Max shook his head but smiled. There was no stopping Leo when he had an idea. At the small stand, a woman with a warm smile and short brown hair scooped ice cream for a long line of customers. Her name was Mara, and she had a way of making everyone feel welcome. Even in a city filled with robots that could serve ice cream perfectly, people still came to her stand. Maybe it was her laughter, or maybe it was the way she noticed small things, like a child's excitement over sprinkles. Leo hopped onto a low stool to reach the counter. "Hi," he said cheerfully. "Hello, Leo," Mara replied, recognizing the little boy. "What will it be today?" "I want the rainbow one, and Uncle Max wants chocolate, right?" Leo glanced back at his uncle. Max nodded, a little embarrassed. "Yes, chocolate, please," he said quietly. Leo leaned toward Mara and whispered loudly, with a grin on his face. "If you married my uncle, he'd finally be happy." The words flew out before Max could stop him. Max froze, a blush spreading across his cheeks. His glasses slipped down his nose, and he cleared his throat. "Leo, that's not funny." Mara laughed, a soft, musical sound. She looked at Max with curiosity. "Oh? Is that true, Max?" she asked, tilting her head. Max scratched the back of his neck, feeling awkward. Well, I don't know what Leo means," he muttered. Leo, completely unbothered by his uncle's embarrassment, waved his hands dramatically. "It's true. You're always working in your lab. You never smile. Mara, you could make him happy." Max pinched the bridge of his nose. He had spent decades in science, studying stars, energy, and tiny robots. But nothing had prepared him for this kind of attention. He looked at Mara and quickly added, "Leo has a very active imagination." Mara's eyes twinkled. "I like people with active imaginations," she said. She handed Leo a rainbow scoop in a crisp cone and Max his chocolate. "Tell you what," she said, smiling at Max. "I'll observe him a little. See if Leo's right." Max nearly choked on his ice cream. "Observe me? No. I mean, that's not necessary." Leo giggled, licking his cone. Max groaned, realizing he had no control over the situation. Mara, however, seemed genuinely interested in knowing more about him. Over the next few days, Leo made sure that every trip to the ice cream stand included comments, notes, and playful nudges. "Uncle Max needs to smile more," he would say. "Mara can help." Max found himself visiting the stand more often than he intended. He would sit quietly, eating his ice cream, while Mara asked him questions about his life. She never judged him, never rushed him. She just listened. "What do you like to do when you're not working?" Mara asked one afternoon. Max hesitated. Most people were uninterested in the small details of his hobbies. But Mara listened with bright eyes and a kind smile. "I like star charts," he said slowly. "And I sometimes build small robots, little helpers. Nothing big, nothing dangerous." "That sounds amazing," Mara said. I've always loved seeing little things work together. It's like magic. 2. Max couldn't help but smile. He had spent so long buried in work that he forgot what it felt like to enjoy something simple, just for fun. Mara had a way of making even ordinary things feel interesting. Leo watched all of this and decided it was time for a bold move. He pulled a small notebook from his backpack and scribbled something quickly. "Here," he said, handing it to Mara. "My uncle's list of things that make him happy. If you want to help, this might be useful." Mara laughed, reading the list. It was full of simple joys: sunsets, star charts, a perfect chocolate scoop, tinkering with robots, listening to wind in the trees. "This is wonderful," she said. "Thank you, Leo. I think I can do this." Max turned red again. "Leo! That's private." Leo shrugged. "He told me himself. It's okay." Mara smiled warmly at Max. "You know, he's right. Sometimes happiness is about noticing small things, little joys. You've been so focused on your work, you might forget that." Max sighed. He had always thought happiness was a side effect of success, of discovery, of invention. But watching Mara laugh with Leo, seeing the way she appreciated even small things, made him wonder if happiness could be simpler than he thought. Over the next week, Max started spending more time outside the lab. He helped Leo build a small robot that could fetch ice cream cones. Mara cheered each time the robot succeeded, clapping her hands and laughing. Max found himself laughing too, a sound he hadn't made in years. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Leo tugged Max toward the ice cream stand. "You have to see this," he said. The holographic sky lit up with pink and orange streaks, reflected on the glass towers around them. Mara handed Max his chocolate scoop. "Beautiful, isn't it?" she said softly. Max nodded, feeling a calm he hadn't felt in a long time. "Yes, it really is," he admitted. Leo beamed. "See? I told you. You're happy." Max chuckled quietly. I think I am," he said, looking at Mara. She smiled. And for the first time, Max realized that happiness might not be something he had to invent or discover. Sometimes it just needed a little kindness, a little laughter, and maybe even a 7-year-old matchmaker. From that day forward, Max's visits to the ice cream stand became regular. He began noticing small details around him, the way sunlight shimmered on the street, the sound of laughter, the smell of fresh cones. Mara became a part of his life in a way that was gentle and natural. Never rushed, never forced. And Leo? Leo was always nearby, grinning proudly as he watched his plan unfold. The city continued to move fast around them. Robots delivered packages, drones flew overhead, and skyscrapers glowed with neon lights. But inside the small bubble of Mara's ice cream stand, time seemed to slow. Max realized that maybe happiness wasn't about changing the world. Maybe it was about noticing it. And Leo, of course, was convinced that all his efforts had paid off. "If you weren't happy before," he told Max, licking the last bit of rainbow ice cream from his cone, "you are now. I told you so." Max laughed. He didn't know what the future would hold, but he knew one thing for certain. Life had become a little sweeter. And sometimes, the simplest words, spoken by the smallest voices, could change everything. The city of Neoterra never slept. Its streets hummed with energy, filled with people, robots, and machines all moving in synchrony. Yet, in the midst of all this bustling life, a small ice cream stand sat quietly at the corner of Park Avenue and 12th Street. It was run by Mara, whose cheerful smile and gentle personality made the stand a place of comfort for anyone who visited. Uncle Max had become a frequent guest at Mara's stand. At first, it had been purely accidental, Leo dragging him there, insisting on a treat after school. But over time, Max realized that he enjoyed being there. The warmth, the laughter, and the simplicity of an ice cream cone made his busy, complicated life feel lighter. Leo, of course, was delighted. He had a plan, and he was determined to see it through. If happiness could be given, or at least nudged, he would make sure his uncle got it. One bright Saturday morning, Leo bounded into the kitchen where Max was tinkering with a tiny robot. "Uncle Max, come on! Ice cream!" Max sighed, putting down his tools. Leo waved a hand dramatically. "Important, shimportant. Ice cream is more important." Max chuckled despite himself. There was no reasoning with Leo when he set his mind on something. All right, let's go." When they reached the ice cream stand, Mara greeted them with her usual warmth. "Good morning, Leo." "Max, what can I get you today?" Leo bounced on his toes. "Rainbow for me, chocolate for Uncle Max." As Mara prepared the orders, Leo leaned closer. "Mara," he whispered, "I think we need a plan. Uncle Max is happy here, but maybe he needs more." Mara raised an eyebrow, curious. Leo lowered his voice, though it was still far too loud. "I mean, you could help him. Make him smile even more. I made a list of things he likes. Do you want to see it?" Mara laughed softly. "Of course I do." From his pocket, Leo pulled a small notebook filled with scribbles, drawings, and little notes. Sunsets, star charts, robots, ice cream, flowers, music. That's a start. Max groaned quietly. "Leo, really?" "Shh," Leo said. "Mara wants to help." Mara looked at Max and smiled. "You see, Max? Someone cares about your happiness." Max felt a warmth he hadn't experienced in years. He had spent so long absorbed in his work, solving problems and making inventions, that he rarely paused to consider the small joys of life. And here was Mara, noticing and appreciating them without judgment, with nothing expected in return. Over the next few days, Mara began to implement Leo's plan gently and naturally. She would ask Max about his day, notice the small details he appreciated, and even suggest little adventures. One morning, Mara approached Max with a bright smile. "There's a small festival in the park today. Holographic lights, music, and games. It might be fun to go." "Myra," Max hesitated. I'm not sure." Leo, ever the negotiator, tugged at Max's sleeve. "You have to go. It's part of the plan." Max sighed, finally giving in. All right, but only for a short while." At the festival, the city seemed to glow in a way Max had never noticed. Holographic fireworks filled the sky, reflecting in the glass towers around them. Mara guided him through the crowd, laughing and pointing out the small details, how the light reflected off a child's toy, or how the robots handed out treats to visitors. Leo darted ahead, exploring every corner, but always keeping an eye on his uncle. "See, Uncle Max? This is fun." Max watched Mara laugh as she interacted with the festival goers. She seemed genuinely happy, not in a forced way, but in a way that made everything around her brighter. Max felt something stirring inside him, a sense of calm and joy he hadn't known he was missing. Later, they came across a small area where inventors showcased their creations. Max's eyes lit up when he saw tiny robots performing simple tasks, dancing, carrying small objects, even juggling. Mara noticed the excitement in his eyes. "You like this, don't you?" she asked. Max nodded. "Yes. It reminds me of the little robots I used to make when I was younger. I didn't realize how much I missed it." "Then why not make some more?" Mara suggested. "You could show them here." Max hesitated. I don't know. It's been a long time." "You don't have to do it alone," Mara said softly. "I'll be there. Leo can help too." Max looked at Mara, and for the first time, he felt something he hadn't in years: confidence. Not in his inventions, but in himself. Leo clapped his hands. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Back at the ice cream stand, Max and Mara shared a quiet moment. The festival lights reflected in their ice cream cones, and for a moment, it felt as though the entire city had paused. You know, Mara said, Leo has a way of seeing things adults miss. Maybe he's right about your happiness. Max laughed quietly. I think you might be right. But I never thought it would be so simple. Just noticing small things, sharing them with someone. He trailed off, unsure how to explain the strange new feeling inside him. You're learning something important, Mara said. Happiness isn't about big achievements or discoveries. It's about small moments, shared with others. Max nodded, thinking about the hours he had spent alone in his lab, and how much joy he had missed. He realized that sometimes, even the most brilliant minds need guidance, sometimes from a 7-year-old, sometimes from someone who simply cares. Over the next week, Max began visiting the ice cream stand more often, not because Leo insisted, but because he wanted to. Mara had a way of making the world feel warmer, simpler, and more colorful. She noticed the small details of his life, encouraged him to explore things he had ignored, and most importantly, made him feel seen. Leo, of course, was thrilled. He had become a little matchmaker, checking notes and scribbling reminders. Don't forget sunsets today, Uncle Max. Mara likes sunsets too. And so, the plan continued. Max started to enjoy small pleasures. Watching the city from a park bench, tasting new ice cream flavors, helping Leo build robots that could fetch cones. Mara laughed at their little creations, cheering each success. Max found himself laughing too, a sound he hadn't heard in years. One evening, as the city lights twinkled like stars, Max sat quietly at the ice cream stand. Mara handed him a scoop of chocolate and smiled. You're smiling more these days, Max. I think Leo was right. You really are happier. Max looked at her and felt a warmth in his chest. I think I am, he admitted. I didn't know it was possible to feel this calm, this joy. I thought happiness came from work, from achievements, from discovery. Mara smiled, and Max realized that it did. It wasn't about grand gestures or heroic acts, it was about noticing the world, sharing small joys, and letting someone care. Leo, sitting beside them with his rainbow cone, grinned. See, Uncle Max? I told you. You're happy now. Max laughed softly, feeling a sense of gratitude toward both Leo and Mara. He had spent so long searching for happiness in complicated ways, only to discover it was waiting quietly in the simplest moments, shared with the right people. And so, Max's life began to change. He still worked on his inventions, still solved problems, still explored the stars, but he no longer did it alone. Mara and Leo had opened a door to a world he had ignored for too long. And with each visit to the ice cream stand, with each small adventure, Max realized that happiness wasn't something he needed to invent. It was something he could simply live. Leo clapped his hands and finished his ice cream. Plan working perfectly, he said proudly. Max chuckled and shook his head. Yes, Leo, it is. And as the sun set over the city, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Max, Mara, and Leo sat together, sharing ice cream, laughter, and the quiet joy of being in the right place at the right time. For Max, life had become a little sweeter, and he knew it was only the beginning. The city of Neoterra sparkled with lights as evening fell. But Max hardly noticed. His mind was busy, not with equations or star maps, but with thoughts of Mara. He had started to look forward to their visits, their small talks, and the gentle way she made him feel calm. Leo noticed it too, of course, and he never missed a chance to remind his uncle. Uncle Max, you're smiling again, Leo shouted one afternoon, tugging at Max's sleeve. Mara said you look different now. Max adjusted his glasses, a little embarrassed. Different? How? Leo grinned. Happier. That's how. Max sighed, but he couldn't argue. Leo was right. Even when he worked in his lab, his mind wandered to Mara's laugh, to the way she noticed tiny details, and to the quiet comfort of sitting with her and Leo at the ice cream stand. Mara, for her part, had noticed Max's subtle changes too. He laughed more freely, spoke more confidently, and even shared little stories about his childhood and his inventions. She admired his intelligence and his curiosity, but it was the gentle way he cared for Leo that impressed her most. One weekend, Mara invited Max and Leo to a festival in the park. It was a celebration of lights and innovation, with holographic displays, music, and games for all ages. Max hesitated at first. He was used to careful planning and quiet work, not noisy crowds and flashing lights. But Leo's excitement was contagious. Come on, Uncle Max. Leo pulled him along. It'll be fun. You'll like it. Mara walked beside them, smiling. I think you'll enjoy it too, Max. It's not just about the lights. It's about the people, the small joys, the shared moments. As they entered the festival, Max was struck by the scene. Holographic fireworks danced above the park, casting reflections on nearby glass towers. Robots served snacks and guided children through games. Musicians played lively tunes, and families laughed together. For a moment, Max forgot about his worries and deadlines. Leo ran ahead, exploring the stalls, but always keeping an eye on Max. Mara walked beside him, pointing out little things: how the sunlight reflected on the park fountains, how the laughter of a child made the air feel lighter. Max listened, feeling a warmth in his chest that was unfamiliar but welcome. They came across a small exhibition of inventions, where people showcased their gadgets and robots. Max's eyes lit up at the sight of tiny machines, performing clever tasks, sorting objects, juggling, and dancing. He felt a spark of excitement. You like this, don't you? Mara asked softly. Max nodded. Yes. It reminds me of the little robots I used to build when I was younger. I didn't realize how much I missed it. Then why not build some again? Mara suggested. Leo can help. And I'll cheer you on. Max hesitated, unsure if he could. But Mara's smile, gentle and encouraging, gave him courage. Maybe I will, he admitted. Over the next few days, Max returned to the lab with renewed energy. He started small, building robots that could fetch ice cream cones or sort tiny objects. Leo helped enthusiastically, scribbling notes and offering ideas, while Mara came to watch and cheer for every success. Max felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. A sense of joy that wasn't tied to work or achievement, but simply to creating and sharing moments with others. Mara's laughter and Leo's excitement made every task feel lighter and more meaningful. One afternoon, Mara suggested a quiet walk. Max hesitated, unsure if it was necessary, but Leo tugged his hand. Come on, Uncle Max. Adventures aren't just for robots. They walked along the riverside, where the water reflected the city lights like tiny stars. The gentle breeze carried the scent of flowers and food from nearby stalls. Max felt calm, his mind free from equations and deadlines. You're different, Max, Mara said quietly. Max looked at her, surprised. Do I seem happy? Yes, she said simply. And it's not just because of ice cream or the robots. It's because you're allowing yourself to enjoy life. Max thought about his years of work, of focusing on inventions and ignoring his own needs. Mara was right. He had been so busy chasing knowledge that he had forgotten the joy in small things. Leo skipped ahead, collecting colorful leaves from the riverside. Max smiled. I think I'm starting to notice it, Leo. Thanks to both of you. As the weeks passed, Max and Mara's friendship deepened. They shared small adventures, watching sunsets, exploring quiet streets, building little robots, and enjoying ice cream together. Max found himself opening up about his past, his dreams, and even his fears. Mara listened with genuine interest, never judging, never rushing. One evening, after a particularly successful day of building robots, Max sat quietly at the ice cream stand, savoring his chocolate scoop. Mara joined him, holding a cone of her own. "You know," Max said softly, "I never realized how much I needed this. The small joys, the company, the laughter." Mara smiled. "Happiness isn't about grand discoveries or inventions. It's about moments like these, shared with people who care." Max nodded, thinking about Leo's matchmaking efforts and how much his life had changed in a few short weeks. "I suppose Leo was right all along," he said, with a small laugh. Leo, who had been finishing the last bit of his rainbow ice cream, grinned. "Told you. Happiness was just waiting for you." Max chuckled. "Yes, it was, and I'm grateful for it." As they sat together, watching the city lights shimmer and the stars begin to appear, Max realized that happiness was not something he had to invent or chase. It was something that could be found in shared moments, in laughter, and in genuine connection. Mara reached over and touched his hand lightly. "I'm glad you're noticing it now," she said. Max looked at her, a warmth spreading through his chest. He realized that he had come to care for her more than he expected. Her kindness, her curiosity, her gentle humor, all of it, had become a part of his life. Leo, ever perceptive, noticed the subtle shift as well. "Uncle Max," he said quietly, "I think you and Mara, you like each other." Max's face turned red. "Leo, please." But Mara smiled knowingly. "I think he's right, Max," she said softly. "We enjoy each other's company, don't we?" Max nodded slowly, a mix of nervousness and happiness. "Yes, we do." And so, life continued in its gentle rhythm. Max worked on his inventions. Leo explored the city and tested new robot ideas. And Mara continued to bring joy to their lives in small, meaningful ways. Each day brought new moments of laughter, small victories, and shared happiness. Max realized that he no longer needed to chase happiness in grand gestures or distant dreams. It was here, in the quiet moments by the ice cream stand, in walks by the riverside, in laughter with Mara and Leo. He had discovered something far more valuable than any invention: the simple, profound joy of connection. One evening, as the city glowed with neon lights and the stars sparkled above, Max looked at Mara and smiled. "I never thought I could feel this way," he said. "You mean happy?" Mara asked, her eyes twinkling. "Yes," Max said softly. "And I have you and Leo to thank for it." Leo, sitting nearby, gave a satisfied grin. "See? That's what I've been saying." Max laughed quietly, feeling a sense of peace and contentment he had never known. The future was no longer just a series of equations and experiments. It was a path filled with small joys, laughter, and the warmth of those who cared. And for Max, that was enough. The city of Neoterra sparkled like a jewel as night fell. Neon lights danced across the streets, and the gentle hum of flying cars filled the air. But in a quiet corner, at the little ice cream stand that had become a second home for Max, Mara, and Leo, life felt calm, peaceful, and filled with warmth. Max had grown used to visiting the stand, enjoying small scoops of chocolate ice cream, and sharing quiet moments with Mara. The past weeks had changed him in ways he never expected. He laughed more, noticed little things around him, and felt a sense of joy he had long forgotten. And Leo, his energetic, clever nephew, had been the perfect catalyst for this transformation. One Saturday morning, Leo bounced into the kitchen, full of excitement. "Uncle Max! Mara's at the stand! Let's go!" Max adjusted his glasses and sighed, smiling. All right, Leo. Let's see what trouble you've brought me into today. At the ice cream stand, Mara greeted them with her usual warm smile. Leo's eyes sparkled. Yes, but today's special. Today we have a plan. Max raised an eyebrow. A plan? Leo nodded seriously. Yes, today is about happiness, and I think you're going to love it. Mara laughed softly. I can't wait to see what you've planned, Leo. They each got their ice cream, and Leo tugged Max toward the small park behind the stand. The trees swayed gently in the breeze, and the sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting playful patterns on the ground. Max felt calm as he followed, thinking how simple, yet beautiful this moment was. Leo stopped in the center of the park. Okay, Uncle Max. Today, we're going to do something fun. Mara, you have to help. Mara smiled. Of course. What do we need to do? Leo handed Mara a small notebook filled with sketches and notes. This is the final part of my happiness plan. You see, Uncle Max has been happy for a while. But now, we want him to feel extra special. Max felt a little embarrassed, but also curious. Extra special? Leo nodded enthusiastically. Yes. You've been happy with ice cream and robots and walks. But now, you need a big, happy moment. Something you'll remember forever. Mara glanced at Max, who looked unsure. Do you trust us? She asked gently. Max hesitated, then smiled. Leo clapped his hands. Perfect. Then let's begin. The plan was simple, yet delightful. Mara and Max built a tiny robot together, decorated it with bright colors and cheerful patterns, and gave it the task of delivering small notes to people in the park. Each note contained a kind message, a compliment, or a small joke, designed to make the reader smile. Max watched as the robot rolled along, handing notes to passers-by. Children laughed, adults smiled, and even a few elderly visitors chuckled as they read the messages. Mara and Max worked together, adjusting the robot, testing its movements, and cheering as it succeeded. Leo ran around, helping wherever he could. Uncle Max, look! Everyone's smiling because of you. Max felt a warmth in his chest. It wasn't the joy of invention or discovery, though he loved those things. It was the joy of seeing people happy because of something he and Mara had created together. It was a simple, human joy that filled him completely. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Leo called everyone to sit on a nearby bench. Now comes the final part of the plan. Max sat beside Mara, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Leo handed each of them a small note. Mara opened hers first, smiling at the kind words written inside. Max unfolded his, and the words made him laugh softly. Happiness is best when shared with those who care. You are loved and appreciated. Max looked at Mara. This is perfect, he said. Thank you. Mara reached over and gently touched his hand. You don't need to thank me. You've been wonderful, Max. It's been a joy to see your happiness grow. Max felt a rush of emotion he could barely describe. For years, he had worked alone, thinking happiness was something he had to discover or invent. But now, sitting beside Mara, watching Leo grin proudly, he understood. Happiness wasn't about grand achievements or distant dreams. It was about shared moments, kindness, laughter, and caring for each other. Leo, ever perceptive, nudged Max. You like Mara, don't you, Uncle Max? Max's face turned red, but he nodded slowly. Yes, I do. More than I expected. Mara smiled warmly. And I like you too, Max. You've shown patience, kindness, and a wonderful curiosity about the world. Spending time with you has been delightful. Max felt a lightness he had never known. I never thought I could feel this way. Not so easily, and not so naturally. Leo jumped up. See, I knew it. Happiness and love. Together. That's the plan. Max laughed quietly, looking at Mara. I suppose your little plan worked perfectly. Mara reached over and held his hand gently. It did, Max. And the best part is, we can keep enjoying it together. As the sky darkened, the first stars appearing above, the little robot rolled past, waving its tiny mechanical arm, as if celebrating the moment with them. Leo clapped and cheered, proud of the happiness he had helped create. Max took a deep breath, feeling completely at ease for the first time in years. Sometimes, the smallest gestures, the simplest acts of care, and the presence of people who truly cared, made life brighter than any invention or discovery could. Mara squeezed his hand. Are you ready for more adventures, Max? Max smiled, his heart full. Yes. With you and Leo, I think I'm ready for anything. Leo cheered, jumping up and down. Yes, that's what I like to hear. For the rest of the evening, they stayed in the park, sharing ice cream, laughing, and talking about their day. Max built a tiny robot companion with Leo's help. And Mara suggested small challenges for them to complete together. Each task brought more laughter, more smiles, and a deeper sense of connection. As night fell, they returned to the ice cream stand one last time. Mara served the final scoops for the day, and Max savored each bite slowly, enjoying not just the taste, but the moment itself. Leo, sitting between them, grinned from ear to ear. You did it, Uncle Max, Leo said softly. You're finally really happy. Max laughed quietly. I am, Leo. Thanks to you, and Mara, and even the little robot. Mara smiled, reaching over to brush a strand of hair from Max's face. Happiness is always better when shared, she said softly. Max looked at her, feeling a sense of calm and joy he had never known. Leo yawned, exhausted from the day but content. Don't worry, Uncle Max. This is just the beginning. Happiness will keep growing. Max nodded, watching the stars twinkle above. He realized that life was full of possibilities, but the most important ones were the people who walked beside him. Mara and Leo had changed his world, showing him that love, laughter, and simple joys could make life richer than any invention. As the night grew quiet, Max, Mara, and Leo sat together at the ice cream stand, enjoying the calm after a day filled with laughter, shared moments, and small adventures. The city hummed around them, but in that little corner, time seemed to slow. He looked at Mara and Leo, and he knew something important. Happiness was not something to chase or invent. It was something to live, something to share, and something to nurture with the people who truly cared. And in that moment, with the stars above and the city lights reflecting in their eyes, Max knew that he was exactly where he was meant to be. Leo grinned, holding up his nearly finished ice cream cone. See? The plan worked perfectly. Uncle Max is the happiest man ever. Max laughed, looking at Mara. Yes, Leo, I think you're right. Mara smiled softly. And we'll keep making happy memories together, she said. Max nodded, feeling full of hope, joy, and a warmth that would stay with him forever. For the first time in years, he knew that life was sweet not because of inventions, work, or achievements, but because of laughter, love, and the small, simple moments shared with those who mattered most. And with that, the little ice cream stand, the cheerful Mara, the clever Leo, and the once shy Max all became part of a story that would continue, filled with happiness, laughter, and the quiet magic of everyday life.